Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode from VOYP. Today, we have a special guest. Actually, we have a great artist. She started to do a lot of things recently. Like she is more into the ancient or the deeply more into the Egyptian culture. Nowadays, she is seeking for the international artworks and also international fans. So that's why we are trying to find out what is the story behind everything. But before we talk about any kind of stories or anything, let's welcome our guest for today. Hello, Lina. I'm really glad to have you here.
Oh, Waleed, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for the lovely introduction.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Lina, before we start anything, can you please tell the audience and everyone who's watching you more about yourself?
Yes, sure. I'm a painter. I do a lot of other things, but basically, I'm a painter. I started in the Faculty of Fine Arts, Zamalek, Funun Gamila, and I also studied at Salzburg Academy, Summer Academy in Austria at the same time. Throughout 2006, 2008, 2009, I had scholarships to study abroad. And I studied cinema right after I finished college for 2 years. And I also studied Egyptology because I'm largely drawn to ancient Egyptian history. And most of my paintings blend historical themes with contemporary life settings and personal stories. And I also like to use things that I understand, to use references that I fully comprehend. Uh, if I'm going to use a small metaphor in my paintings that comes from ancient Egypt, I would go all the way and study for 2 years to be able to use that with awareness and to be professional in the way I think about the philosophical side of the painting, because I think an artist has to work on both the technical and the mental process. I have participated in more than 130 shows. I started exhibiting in 1999 at quite a young age, and I was the youngest participant in the Cairo Youth Salon in
Yeah.
2002. And then I went on and exhibited my work in a lot of galleries in Egypt and more than 15 other countries, Europe, America,
Mhm.
Africa, and Asia. And lately, I've had my work in prestigious art fairs, biennales, art events, and galleries. We had a show last month at the National Museum of Egyptian Civilizations, which I curated for myself and seven other
Yeah.
international artists. And I also had an exhibition at the Kira Ventura Gallery in New York a couple of months ago. Last year, we had Carthage Contemporary Art Days in Tunisia. And I mean, this is at the tip of my head. I had a solo show at the Modern Art
Uh-huh.
Museum in Cairo, in the Cairo Opera House grounds last year. And I was very happy to exhibit my work there.
Yeah. It's really
The
great.
place
Yeah.
is, thank you. The place is very dear to me with all our modern Egyptian art pioneers. And I had a solo in Picasso Art Gallery last year as well called Lady of Cairo about
Mhm.
the ancient Egyptian goddess Hathor, symbol of the cow, motherhood, giving, love, music, joy. And my paintings are generally figurative. I paint people. I also work in mixed media. And mixed media is not an easy material to use. You have to
Mhm.
study every material separately, and then you have to study
Exactly. Yeah.
the physics, the physics
That's really
and
great.
the
Yeah.
chemistry of
Mhm.
putting everything together until you have your own blend and your own steps and your own mixture of materials.
Yeah, I can see there's a lot of the news stories behind the artworks, behind the paintings, behind the coloring, and also there's a lot of variety in everything. Like you have the Egyptian culture, you are more into the deep cultures, not only your own ones. So it's really great. That's why I wanted to ask you more about the beginnings. How was it the beginning? When you decided to become an artist, and why you moved to the visual arts? You are now like a visual artist. So tell me the process. How was the first time? How was the beginning for you? How was for you? Tell me more about it.
Yeah, it's very difficult to trace the beginnings. It goes back a long way. So when I was a kid, I went to England with my parents, and So I was in class one day and the teacher came in and she started talking about Tutankhamun. And for me, it was a turning point because in the early 90s, to live in England as an Egyptian child, and there was no social media back then, you felt a little bit isolated. And I mean, it was a beautiful class and I loved my friends and everything. But this turning point, it made me feel special. And I took the decision at that point that I would be a painter and that I wanted to work a lot about Egypt and the concept itself of ancient Egypt and how connected it is with our contemporary identity and with modern Egyptians has always been inspiring for me. So I mean, my mother was a translator, and she was always uh, encouraging me to go through different mediums to as if it was a translating process. And whenever I was overflown with emotions, whether I'm upset or happy or anything, and she would say, go and paint it out. And I think I've been doing that until now, since the age of 7. So
Yeah.
this is how I began. This is how it began, and you can trace back a lot of what I do nowadays to my early beginnings.
So what's cool about it that you are talking about the culture exchange with the other people. Like you are living in England as an Egyptian woman, and also you are growing up from your childhood to the person have become. So it's really like a long story, you know. And also it was like like it was really like something impassioning about talking about your arts and how it grows with you. So tell me more about it. How you found out that you are very talented. How you find out the all the inspirations and everything that you inspired you to become an artist.
I mean, as a child, I was very lucky to have parents who understand this and support it. I attended a huge number of art events, and because I started early, that's why I ended up with 130 participations at this point. I was also very eager to study and learn, and this is something I encourage all young artists to do because it's your assets. It's what you can be supported by. I was very excited to study any kind of art that was available for me. Since a very young age, I took a lot of workshops, a lot of courses. I studied printmaking, I studied cinema, like we said, Egyptology. I studied video art. I studied installations, and I worked in all these different art fields. And I think an artist has to find their own voice and their own imprint through that. If you like to draw and you like to draw something in particular, you have to test it. You have to go and do other kinds of art and learn with different artists and learn in different techniques and different art schools, and then make sure what it is that you want to do with your life.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I really want to know. That yeah, how the was the process from like right the painting the collection. Like you are like doing a lot of collections, and also you have that you are more into the Egyptology, more into the Egyptian culture and everything. So you started with the your passion for the human being and the human nature with everything that like it's like a story telling itself. So how was the transition from the normal story as a like a Egyptian child to the someone who's more into the Egyptology and the to Egyptian culture and the ancient Egyptian culture. By the way, can you tell me more about it?
I'm inspired by the human beings, basically. The I paint people, I paint how they look, I paint what they do, culture. I study sociology a lot, and when I was in college, I was also interested to find out about human thought, and I traveled as much as I could. So I went to St. Catherine's in Sinai, and I started to research the spirituality of the place there. And I started to compare it with ancient Egyptian culture and ancient Egyptian mythology. So I think all of this shows in my work at the end. I'm always very curious. And for me, it's all a story. It's both personal and universal at the same time. So I paint situations that inspire me and that provoke me to think, and at the same time I use a bigger theme and a broader context with symbols. And then it's a process. I mean, I've had 15 solo shows, so every time you learn more. And I think art is a profession, it's a job. So maybe, for example, in my first solo show, which is a very dear memory to me, I learned how it is that you should make a theme and that you have a series that is connected in the concept and also in the visuals of it, the aesthetics. So every series I do now, which crosses about 1 or 2 years, has a theme and it has a story and it has a slightly different aesthetic than the one before. So my first series was called Egyptian Stories, and it was a blend between Egyptian folk art and also expressionist techniques and expressionist colors, which I learned in Austria, and I was already attracted to as a student, and that's why I went to study in Austria in the first place. And so Egyptian Stories was a very romantic. It has a lot of mythology in it, and it brought together a lot of figurative, pure figurative work because it was the first solo after graduation, so there was a lot of college work in it, college practice. And I mean, at that point, I had already exhibited in 50, I mean, exhibitions in Egypt and abroad. So it was also a professional step, not the beginning of an artist. It was like a little bit more developed than a student way of thinking. And then after that, I worked on a lot of different things. It's you need a break after your first solo show to start to find your steps and what you're going to do next. Then
Yeah.
I was largely inspired by Siwa Oasis. I went with the Ministry of Culture on an artist residency in 2009, and I was totally inspired by it. I fell in love with Siwa, the culture, the heritage, the people, their kindness, and their visuals, and all the Amazigh influence, the cosmopolitan nature of the place, because Siwa has it's an oasis in the Western Desert in Egypt, with a very rich historical background going back all the way to Alexander the Great, and then there are Arabs and Egyptians and Amazighs and Ethiopians, and I'm research driven, so I went back 3 other times on my own to do research, and it's a very exhausting trip. It's 8 hours away from Cairo, right in the heart of the desert.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then yes, and then in 2018, I was lucky enough to get another scholarship residency from the Ministry of Culture, and I went there. And this time I thought, okay, I have to do a solo show about it.
Like
So
it's
I
so
wrote my
really hard to like have a long distance way for to you are just visiting a lot of cities and take a lot of hours, and it's really like an inspiring story, you know.
Yes, yes. I mean, you have to travel around. When I'm asked by younger artists, I always tell them you have to travel. If you don't have the capacity to travel abroad, you have a lot of different governorates in Egypt. Everyone has its own. Every one of them has its own character, and it's like a separate country. So go around the country and get to know more about the different lifestyles and different subcultures. So that was Olive Jam. That was a solo show I did in 2019. And I called it olive jam because it is a delicacy that they eat in Siwa Oasis. It's a recipe there. It's jam made of olive and a lot of sugar. And I mean, I took it symbolically to reflect on life, how it is bittersweet, the good and the bitter in life. And that was my next solo. After that, I did a series called Domestic Dinosaurs. So in after
Yeah.
2019 comes 2020, and then there was the corona, and life was turned upside down, and I took that in a very sarcastic way, I could say. I mean, I painted dinosaurs. I painted a lot of work about nature, and I did a lot of research about the planet and about animals and about villages and simple life. And for me, it was like a lesson for humanity. And when I paint animals, dinosaurs, or mythical creatures, I'm also reflecting the human being. I'm also working about humans. So in my series, Domestic Dinosaurs, you find a lot of dinosaurs, doing things like normal daily activities or in dramatic, imaginative settings. And it was a very interesting series. It was 100 paintings because, I had a lot of time to work during lockdown. And then after that, I did another series that is quite related, and it's called Time Travelers. and the painting right behind me is part of that series. So you can kind of see the dinosaurs there,
Yeah,
and
it's
you
really
can see the
it's really
pictures.
cool that you are like making a mixture between the Egyptian culture, like the people, like if you look deeper to the man and the woman, they both look like more into the like the Egyptian old
Very
paintings, and
different.
and
Yes.
on yeah, it's really ancient Egyptian painting, and also it's related to the dinosaurs and everything. You are connecting the time and the culture and everything. How you managed to make this mixture, like it's really creative.
So I mean, I'm not one of the artists that plan a painting. I work on my emotion. So if I cannot paint if I'm not emotionally charged, and when I am, then the painting just flows. It just goes on its own. And I mean, I have all my materials ready. I do my brain food work. I do a lot of research, a lot of reading, and maybe I travel especially to connect with a certain idea that I want to work on. And then when it comes to producing the painting, I don't do sketches. I think sketches take away from the energy of the artwork. I just sit there and I start working, and it's really a multi-layered process. So I put the background first, and then I add to it. If I mean, some of my work has collage, as you can see here in this painting, especially in the top part. And
Yeah, I can see. Yeah.
and then I add the final lines to highlight the parts that I want, because you have to control the viewer's eye, how it rotates around the painting. And I mean, most of my work is mixed media. I feel quite narrowed working in only one material.
What I really want to know, really, that the how you can like try to use the different kind of materials, and about the materials, about the paintings, about everything. Like, how was it challenging to make like a new collection or try to make like a single project? How was it difficult for you? Is it at the beginning? How is it difficult? And now, can you tell me the emotions you feel? What do you feel now when you are paint? Is it the same feeling as before, or there's a developing and everything? Can you tell me about the work process? How was it challenging?
It's a very interesting question, because okay, so let me talk about first of all about the part where you make a whole series that is connected. So I mean, when I was younger, that was very difficult for me. I was inspired by so many different things. I was affected by a lot of different art styles, and so it was so difficult to sit and do several paintings that are similar in the way they're executed. I would make a painting. I mean, most of my work is figurative, and I have a huge amount of portraits from my early years. So it was basically more or less the same topic. But I mean, I would work in a certain style and then run around, see another thing that I would be inspired by. And it was really difficult. I mean, I remember in my solo in 2010, I had older friends advise me, you should, it's more professional if the works are more connected. And I really didn't understand what they meant. I mean, you get older and the way you think changes. So now it comes completely naturally that I have a topic that I work on, or I have a style or a technique that I'm experimenting with. And it doesn't end suddenly. It doesn't end abruptly. I usually do a whole series, and then it starts to fade out and I'm inspired by something else. So I mean, I take a lot of time. I mean, this Domestic Dinosaurs and the Time Travelers, they're connected series, and I worked on them since 2019 until 2021. And then I did a small series about actors and celebrities and action figures, and it was really fun. It was a summer series, and it was about pop culture and all the influences from the 90s, perhaps. And I was missing the feeling of more classical painting or more clear figuration. So after all the abstraction and the dinosaurs and the mixed media, I went back to something a little bit more solid. And then after that, I did Lady of Cairo, and that was my latest series. And now I'm working on my new
Yeah.
show
Mhm.
coming up.
You are more
So
into the classics, yeah, when it comes to the painting, yeah, paintings.
into learning your skills and then doing what you
Mm,
want with it.
mm.
So my work is quite free, actually. I mean, it's not realistic. It's not something you have. learned in college. It's very personal. And I mean, it's a blessing and it's a curse, but it is what it is. It's not something that you can say, oh yeah, I know that it looks like this and this, so I can easily categorize it. And at the
Exactly. Yeah.
same time, I'm happy and proud to have an original style of my own. And I mean, part of it I worked hard for, and part of it developed naturally. So I mean, the artist expresses what they have in their brain. So perhaps this is what I have, and it's a bit different from what uh, you might see as classical work, as you were saying. So it's basically bringing together painting and printmaking, and a little bit of collage. And then for the materials, I have usually a large base of acrylic or oil, and then I use some lines to highlight it, perhaps oil bars or permanent markers if the background is acrylic.
Mhm.
And I really like to break boundaries. For me, it is a lot of fun. It is the most exciting part of the process to do something that is not expected. I mean, everything has been done before, but to
Yeah,
do
it's
something
amazing.
that has
Like it's
thank
amazing
you.
that you are moving from another way to another. Like you are moving from one, not only one a single artwork, but to another. Like there's a lot of categories. You are changing from all of painting to acrylic on canvas and everything. So you started with sketches. Although you don't like, or you don't really like the whole idea of sketching because it takes a lot of time, you are trying as much as you can to discover a lot of things. So it's really challenging. You are trying to find the material, you are trying to work it out. And also you mentioned something very important, that everyone is changing, everyone is developing from time to time. You have to do this. So I really like the whole idea of how you are developing. So I would just want to tell you, like, how was the process? Is it yeah, is it much long, or it takes much long, or it takes like it could be like in a few amount of time? How was the process for you?
I mean, it depends on the size of the artwork. I mean, I let's talk like you know, solid physical, realistic points. If the painting is big, it will take a lot of time. If it's, I mean, I do small drawings sometimes, also to research an idea. So I can do a lot of small drawings in one day. When it comes to bigger paintings, it could take a lot of time for two things. It could take a lot of time for the layering and the process itself, the painting, and it could take some time for thinking and for finding what to do next, because you're not always in a state of flow and work. At this point in my career, I try to work whether I'm inspired, whether I really want to paint or not. I love the idea of doing it as a job, and going to the
Yeah.
studio if it's possible every morning, working a good amount of hours, because you don't really get into the
So
painting.
you
You
have
have
like
to
more inspiration comes to your mind, and then you are
you
start to work about it. Yeah.
you learn how to channel it. So I mean, if I sit
I
for an
really want to
hour or
know.
two.
I really want to know the inspiration behind this one. Like, it's really cool. Like I do really like the idea, as you mentioned before, the idea of dinosaurs and everything. So what is the exact idea of this one? Like, it's like really, like interesting. Like there's a lot of meaning behind this painting. Can you tell me more about it?
Thank you. That one, it's called the fragility of existence. And so obviously there are two antagonistic powers, like the yin and yang. There are two dinosaurs, a T-Rex meat eater and Stegosaurus. And then, I mean, I always hint at what the painting is about in the background. Usually the foreground or the figures, they don't show everything, and then you can learn more about what's going on from the background. So they're dinosaurs, they're painted in a very rough manner. And then behind them is this very domestic pattern that reminds us of a tablecloth or a curtain in a vintage house, perhaps your grandma's house. And this pattern is also printed in very light pink colors. So there's a contrast between all the action and the drama in the foreground and the very subtle, somewhat feminine background. And then at the top, there are people. I don't know if you can see it. There are figures painted
Yeah, I
abstractly.
can see it. Yeah, I see a lot of people in the back. Yeah,
They're marching, they're in a parade. So we saw a lot of those parade scenes in 2020 and 2021 with all the demonstrations against nature destruction and the global warming and all there was a lot of awareness about nature at that point. So these people are up there and
it's more
they're
like a natural process for all these people. Yeah,
Yes, yes, it is. They're up there at the edge of the painting, demonstrating they're upset about something. They have these speakers with them, and then you have a butterfly, and a butterfly is always for me a symbol of fragility. And then you have the two yin and yang dinosaurs, and I really like to think about life in a non-positive, negative way. So I
yeah,
think there's
exactly. Yeah,
always,
there's
and this
hope
is also
always. There's always hope about the idea. Yeah,
And this is also something we learned from ancient Egypt, because in ancient Egypt, a lot of people think it's about good and evil, and that's not the point. In ancient Egypt, the big struggle is between harmony and chaos. So you have all these gods and deities about that represent harmony and
yeah.
stability and the good flow of the Nile, and then you have Set, for example, that represent chaos and storms and this
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I want to know more about this one. Like it's really cool. Like it's like Nefertari, right? And Tutankhamun, and also there is
Yes,
a man. There's a man over here. Can
yes.
you tell me more about this one? Yeah.
So that is one of my recent paintings, and it's not really my usual style. I oftentimes I like to do these more realistic paintings when I want to paint a certain story in particular. And this was made for our exhibition at the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization 2 months ago. And so it's Nefertiti, and she is sitting across the table from Howard Carter. And then there's Tutankhamun, of course, also in the painting included. In the background, there is the map of Egypt and all the ancient cities. And every city is represented by a certain small drawing. And then on the table in front of them, there's this English tablecloth, Christmas pattern, and a lot of items perhaps from the tomb of Tutankhamun and items from uh, English, British, American culture at that point,
I can
20s.
see like a lot of like a lot of is it's the Egyptian map, and also I haven't noticed it. Like it's really small, but it's if you look deeper at the wall painting, you will find a lot of details. Like how was the inspiration for how did where the inspiration came from? I want to know more about the inspiration for this one.
So I think one of the most beautiful and interesting aspects of humanity is these topics that are so complicated. It is so hard to take sides. I mean, I have a 9-year-old daughter, and she came up to me and she said, "Is Howard Carter a good or a bad person?" And I had to give her a very long and intricate answer. And in the end, she said, "You didn't answer my question, because I have a very strong feeling for our Egyptian identity, and we feel enraged when we watch uh, our artifacts in museums outside Egypt, and we have this historical bruise with colonization and the occupation of Egypt, and I mean historically, if you trace the roots of a lot of our contemporary problems in the Egyptian society, it traces back to the time of the colonization. So it's a topic that I'm very
So
emotional
the
about. And I care a lot about.
occupation have its pros and cons and everything, but if you are looking on not only in the bad things, you are looking also for the Egyptian culture and everything. So this one especially, it's so deep, like it's really like an Egyptian man in the upper Egypt, right? Is looking at himself, and also there's emotion and feelings. there's a coloring things, a lot of colors, a lot of emotions and feelings. How can you deliver the message behind this one? It's really amazing, you know.
I mean, that's my whole point. When I paint a person or when I think about a person, I understand how complicated a human being is. I can never judge a figure, especially if I'm painting them. So for me, for example, when I was painting Howard Carter, I mean, I would tell my daughter, at the end of the day, he is a very important archaeologist, and he made a huge discovery that it's really one of the most important discoveries in history. So I mean, I'm happy he made that, but the setting, it needs a lot of talking. The painting you just showed, it's actually Ibn Battuta from Morocco,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
explorer. And yes, he does look like an Egyptian man, and I had an Egyptian model for that painting. Uh,
You,
yes, from Upper
you
Egypt.
know, I do really know Ibn Battuta, but I don't know what he looks like, what he really looked like, you know. But it's really like
Oh,
if you see it, yeah, it's like
you
he
can
looks
never
like
be sure. I mean, I made a lot of research. I saw a lot of drawings of him, but you can never be sure how he exactly looked. So that was my imagination. And this painting, it's very dear to me because it's actually one of the collectibles at a really nice museum in Morocco, the Patrimonial Museum of Agadir for Amazigh heritage and modern art. And I was happy to participate as an artist and a curator in an interesting 20 artist show in 2019. And so I brought together artists from different countries and really big names, as well as young aspiring artists. And this was my contribution to the exhibition. The exhibition was entitled Ibn Battuta, A Border Crossing Dream. And it was about, crossing borders and reaching out to other people, other cultures, and traveling, and how important it is, especially in an artist's life. So you can see in the painting Ibn Battuta, and if you notice, he is holding a mirror in his hand, and you can see the reflection of his eyes. So
yeah. This is what I like, the reflection of the eye. Yeah, it's very cool.
so the
Yeah,
figure itself, you don't see his eyes because he's looking downwards at the mirror. You can see the whole body, but you can see his eyes in the mirror that's in his hand.
there's
So
something
basically,
confusing. There's something
yeah,
confusing.
it's very interesting because when
Yeah.
anybody thinks about Ibn Battuta, usually people think about his travels. He was a very important explorer.
Mm.
He traveled most parts of the world before Marco Polo. But for me, when I think about his travels, I think about how he was really getting to know himself. Because when I read his memoirs, or also reading Naguib Mahfouz, who made a nice novel inspired by Ibn Battuta, a little bit
Of course,
different, and
yeah.
of course
Yeah.
it's fictional, Ibn Fatuma. And it's really interesting how he learns something new about himself in every chapter. So that's why I took it into that direction. And there's a lot of print work in that painting in
Yeah.
particular, so much
It's amazing.
layering.
Yeah, I do really like it, and I want to know the story behind this one because really interesting. You know, like can you see like Johnny Depp? I think, and
Yes,
there's like two horses, and it's
yes.
creative. You know, like I really want to know story about it. What is the story behind this one?
This is the series I told you earlier about, the pop culture icons from the 90s that we grew up looking up to, and how they affected our way of thinking and our values and our ethics and our goals. So when I paint pop culture, it's also in my own painting style. It has a lot of expression in it and a lot of uh, drawing. And also there's the symbolism I use usually. So it's Johnny Depp, and Johnny Depp is a very inspiring person for me because he blends different art genres. He's of course he's an actor, but he's also a singer and a painter, and I like that way of life because I think it enriches. I mean, you every artist has their
He's
main discipline.
really talented. Yeah, he's really talented.
Exactly.
So talented. Yeah.
Exactly. So when I studied cinema, I learned a lot about my own painting. And when I studied cinema, I could master better the composition of my painting because we worked a lot about the cadre, the cadre in the scenes. I learned about body language. I learned about the light distribution in the painting. So when I studied cinema, I was not wasting my time. I mean, it's really interesting when you go across different art genres and then you go back to your own thing, what you do, and you can feel the effect. You can feel the what it adds to you. So this painting, it's actually exhibited at the moment in the Knox Gallery at the Knox Mall in a lovely show curated by Archaeology Egypt. And for 40 artists, very interesting summer show. And that painting is one of my few works about cinema and pop culture. And so Johnny Depp is basically, I think, a symbol of something exotic for a lot of people. He has his own acting style. He always goes to movies with a more surreal setting,
Sure, yeah.
something
He's
more
iconic. Yeah,
creative.
he's like really like he can do a lot of things. He is really talented. Yeah. I want to talk about the. There's something really inspiring and something really cool that I do really like in your paintings. I want to say that it's really cool when it comes to the Women International Day. This painting exactly.
Okay, so I mean, feminist art. It's a very important topic, and you don't have to do feminist art if you're a woman. My paintings are usually done in a somewhat aggressive way. I have a very expressionistic style, and my figures are bold and they have strong expressions. They have big eyes. They have uh, really sharp features. So many times my work gets mistaken to be made by a man artist. So I mean, it's a very prickly issue, and I remember I had a lot of discussions about this when I was younger, and I would say there's no such thing. But as I got older, I got married and I had kids. And this whole process, getting pregnant and having a baby, I mean, not every woman has to go through it, not everyone wants to go through
Yeah,
it.
God bless them. Yeah,
But if you do go through it, it changes you. And I mean, I all my work is inspired. It comes directly from my personal life. So that painting I made when I was pregnant, and it has a lot of symbols as well, a lot of animals from nature, and I think the colors of this painting, the color palette is quite special with the strong orange, a symbol of life and growing life. And
yeah,
I don't know, I
exactly.
mean,
Yeah,
some paintings you
many
feel like
coloring, many things like
that's one of them.
yeah, I can see many colors, many details, many things, many human feelings, and all so on. This is really inspiring, and I really appreciate you are really doing like a great job, not only as an artist but also as a mom. So it's really cool. One last question about the exhibitions. How you feel when you are having like an important event and also everything you are sharing your exhibitions maybe in the in Austria, in Egypt, or any kind, any place, like how it's the worldwide exhibitions give you the feeling and everything. How you feel when you are participating in a lot of exhibitions? How it feels?
I mean, it's important. It's a crucial part of our job as an artist. It's an integral part of your practice. To simplify, I mean, I think of art being an artist as a triangle. So this triangle has three corners. One of them is making the artwork, the other one is exhibiting the artwork, and the third one comes from the interaction of people with the artwork. So I think it's very important. Um, Often I really enjoy shows and meeting people and getting to know what they think about my art. And sometimes it's also an honor to exhibit in a good gallery that I appreciate or I respect, or in a museum that I aspire to show my work at. And it's nice to it also helps enrich your process. The poster you showed was from a really interesting art show, a group show called Red, and that was I think earlier this year or last year, I'm not sure. And it was at Shelter Art Space in Alexandria, and that was the show I had the painting with the two dinosaurs in.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, and so it's really cool that you are sharing the same idea. Like, I'm really glad that I have shared the same things. Like, I've showed you the your memories from the recent participation from the Alexandrian exhibition. So it's like all about the dinosaurs and everything, and you are expressing the happiness and everything. So it's really cool that you are really have the passion for everything you're doing. So I really appreciate it, and I say you really, you are really amazing, Lina. Really amazing.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you, Ali. It has
so
been lovely talking to you. Thank you.
yeah.
Very, very nice
So
and interesting interview.
before we end the episode, of course, before to we say anything and say goodbye to all the people, I just want to say I want to hear from you just a last message to all the people who are loving you and watching you. If you want to say to all the audience and all the people who loves you and are interested more about Lina, if you have one last message to them, what do you want to say? What do you want to say to all these people?
Oh, that's a tricky question. So, I mean, I would say if you want to ask me anything, uh, don't be shy. I'm very flexible, and I love questions about my work. I love to talk and have discussions. If you have any criticism you want to give me, I'm very welcoming. And I'd also say, just try to include more art in your life. It's a message I would love to give to everybody. Go to more galleries, do more art things, just pick up a hobby or read about art. It really refines life, and especially nowadays, I think it's something we all need very, very much.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and it's really cool that you are want all the people, especially the young people, to participate in all the art galleries, to discover more about arts, to read more about the art world, and it's really amazing. So that you are sharing your passion to all people, especially for the young people. You are really inspiring, Lina, and I really enjoyed the looking back to all these artworks. And I want to thank you so much and appreciate your time for this conversation. I'm really glad. I really enjoyed the interview. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. It's an honor, really, and a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lina. Thank you so much, everyone, for this episode. It was a great to share like one of the Egyptian artists that I really look for, and I really look to talk every time. And really, it's really amazing to share like a huge heritage about the Egyptian culture and the human being. And also, I want to say to you, I'm very proud of you, Lina, as an Egyptian woman, also an Egyptian. Like inspiring characters. It's really amazing to, and I'm really honored to have this conversation with you. Thank you, Lee.
I'm
Thank you so
also
much.
very proud of being on your show. I love what you're doing, and it's really interesting how you put all these things together, bringing people from different backgrounds, and it's really been a fun conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you so much, everyone, for this episode. I hope you like the episode. I hope you like, share, and subscribe if you like the episode. See you in the other episodes, and see you soon. Goodbye.